Hey guys, it's Coach Laney here with Steel Strength Training, and today we are going to talk about fruit, okay? The last three videos really have been in relation to sugar. We talked about baking, we talked about sugar itself, we talked about desserts and sweet treats, and now we are going to talk about fruit to wrap it all up in this sugar compilation of videos. So let's get into it. So if you want to understand the body's response to fructose, go back and watch my sugar video, which was a couple weeks ago, that talks about the impacts of fructose. And I go a little bit into fruit in terms of fructose and versus high fructose corn syrup. But today we're going to strictly be talking about fruit itself. All right, so first things first. Fruit has been known to have higher sugar. I've heard some people say, don't eat fruit, it's too high in sugar, and fructose is bad for you in all forms and in all amounts. You should never have any fructose. But the more I'm looking into it, things are starting to make sense of why fruit should be a part of a healthy diet and can be a part of a healthy diet in moderation. And here is the science of why fruit, even though sometimes it has higher sugar, is better than going to the store and eating gummy bears with fructose in it. So let's talk about that. So there is a video which is by Dr. Peter Attia, and there is another doctor on there talking about sugar and the effects of that in terms of fruit. He actually did a study on fruit, and they compared a low fructose diet with fruit versus a no fructose diet, and the result was improvements in metabolic syndrome equally in both the low fructose diet with only fruit versus the no fructose diet at all. So he was basically making the point that some fructose that you consume in fruit, not high fructose corn syrup, not gummies, not artificial fructose that's added into things unnaturally, that can be healthy in terms of just eating fruit. Like, your sugars should be coming from fruit. You shouldn't be getting your sugars from added sugars. So they made a point to say that if you have metabolic syndrome or a disease or something like that, fruit can be helpful in a healthy diet because it's not going to increase your risk for metabolic syndrome or other diseases that can be caused by high sugar diets. However, if you are eating a high added sugar diet and a high sugar or a high diet in fruit, it's probably not a good idea to eat both of those together. However, Americans love to hear, oh, fruit's unhealthy? Perfect. I don't even like it anyway, and cut it out while they're still eating a bunch of added sugar foods. So that's not right, obviously. We should have fruit as our main source of sugar because our body still needs sugar in certain levels. It's good for our bodily functions. But having an added sugar diet plus a heavy fruit diet is going to lead to too much fructose in the body. So that's what we don't want to do, which to avoid that is eating fruit in moderation and following the guidelines to how much fruit you should have a day, and not eating a bunch of added sugar on top of that. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the different types of fruit. What fruit has higher amounts of sugar and what has lower amounts of sugar? All right, so the highest level, and this is fruit sugar levels per 100 grams, which is more accurate because you're seeing the concentrate of the sugar per 100 grams instead of just in one mango. It's obviously going to be higher than one grape. So in terms of the highest sugar content is going to be number 1, grapes, which Peter Attia said that grapes are fake fruits, which I thought was funny. Don't really know what I think about that. But that just goes to show you grapes is not something that we should constantly snack on in excess because they have such high levels of sugar, and they also don't have much, I don't believe they have much fiber or other benefits. So it's kind of like if you wanted a candy, grapes are basically like a candy in terms of the sugar levels. So it's more of like a sweet treat is how we should view grapes. Instead of that, it's actually good for us. Bananas, high in sugar, are second. Mango, apples, pineapple, pears, so on and so forth. At the bottom of the list is going to be pretty obvious: limes, lemons, avocados. What was interesting, which I've heard this before, blueberries, strawberries, grapefruit, plums, cherries, blackberries, anything that's a berry is mostly lower sugar content than the ones I said in the beginning. So that's why berries are so good, and normally why people encourage to eat berries. So just to give you some numbers to think about, this is just straight up fruit. The highest content of sugar for grapes is 18.1 grams. That's the highest sugar, which is a lot. But when you look at high fructose corn syrup products or fruit juices with added sugars, we're looking at like 50 grams of sugar. So that just goes to show you, if grapes with 18 grams of sugar is considered high sugar, and we're drinking Cokes and with sugar in it, and juices with added sugar, we're getting up there in terms of a lot of sugar. So take that with a grain of salt. Look at your numbers, look at the nutrition facts on what you're eating, and especially look at the added sugar. All right, one thing I want to talk about, dried fruit and fruit juices. Is that considered real fruit? Is it better or worse? Let's talk about it. So dried fruit, we'll talk about that first. That is kind of like eating candy. And let me tell you, this is really interesting. Dried fruit, you take out the nutrients, so you take out the fiber, you remove the water, so the sugar is left and is isolated, which can cause you to eat more of it because they're small and the sugar is concentrated and they're easy to eat, so you can eat more of it, which is going to lead to a higher amount of sugar. Same with juice. It's also concentrated, so you can consume much sugar in excess very fast, just like naked drinks. I see those in the stores all the time. Sometimes I drink them if I'm being honest. But if you look at the sugar content, some of them are reaching about 55 grams of sugar, which is super high. But if you look, there's no added sugars. Why is it so high in sugar? Because it's juice that's concentrating the sugars, taking out the fibers. There's still vitamins in it, but it's taking out the fiber and concentrating the fruits, which is going to lead to higher levels of sugar. So why is fruit better than candy? Let me tell you, fruit is better than candy for many reasons. One being, fruit affects your blood sugar levels and your blood glucose, I can never say that word, guys, I'm so sorry, response, because the fiber and the nutrients present in fruit affect your blood sugar levels differently, so it lowers the spike a lot differently than candy with high sugar levels, because there's no fiber and there's no nutrients to balance out. So the main reason why fruit is healthier is because of the fiber present. And not to mention, candy has, most of the time, especially if you're in America, we got dyes going on in our gummies. We have all these other added ingredients that are not natural and good for us. So there's a lot of other factors going on outside of sugar that is affecting us negatively. So fruit is always a better option. Even if it's grapes, it's better than eating gummies. But the one thing I want y'all to understand and take away is fruit is better for you than candy, but a sugar molecule, a fructose molecule, is a fructose molecule. It doesn't matter in terms of how your body interprets that sugar molecule, whether that's from a fruit or from a gummy. So that doesn't mean that fruit is as unhealthy as a gummy, because that's not true because of what we just talked about in terms of the fiber and the nutrients present, and that it's a natural source of sugar. But a sugar molecule is a sugar molecule, and your body is going to react the same way to a sugar molecule. It's going to do the same thing with the sugar molecule, whether it's from a fruit or something else. So that doesn't mean, don't hear me say that gummies are more healthy or the same as fruit, because it's not. We just talked about that. If you're confused, go back and watch the video when I just talked about it. And the other videos talk about that too. It is not the same. Fruit is healthier, okay? Hear me say that. But it is not something that we should eat all the time, munch on all the time, eat it in excess to where your stomach hurts. Another thing, when I overeat fruit, guess what? My stomach hurts because it's too much sugar. So your body knows the levels most of the time. When it's too much, your body will probably tell you. But sticking with a variety of fruit and berries are a good way and a safe way to go while limiting your calorie count. So I hope this cleared up some information and confusion in terms of sugar and fruit, and let me know if you have any questions below. Feel free to comment your questions, and I hope to see y'all in the gym soon.